Hi,
Welcome to Morning Sign-In from UCLA. I'm Safina,
I'm Nicole.
and the topic of today's radio show is a very specific type of bacteria.
Yes, we're going to talk about the dirty beaches in Los Angeles, California, and the amount of bacteria in them.
Because we know you know the beaches are dirty.
Right, especially Santa Monica.
Yeah, I was actually, this weekend, I was going to go to the beach with my friends, but I saw an advisory on the news that was like, do not go to the beach. There's dangerously high levels of bacteria in them. And I was like, what does that mean?
Right,
So today we're going to talk about that.
yes. So,
First, we should define what bacteria even are.
yes. So, bacteria is in a single cell,
Either unicellular organisms.
which means it's in a single cell. And as we know, bacteria can either be good or bad. And bacteria is found in all walks of life, like inside your body, in the forest.
And in the ocean.
Yes, yes. And that's what we'll be focusing on today.
Yeah. So the first thing that I kind of noticed when I was watching the news was, how do they even know that the bacteria levels are elevated? Like, how are they measuring this?
So, LA County does not have enough money to test every single specific beach. So, they do test for indicated bacteria. So they can see, is there bacteria present within this certain beach?
Yeah, an indicator bacteria, they're not anything specific. They're just an indication of the fact that fecal matter may be present in the water. So there's three main different types of bacteria that they test for.
Yes, the first one is E. coli, which we all know, and E. coli is a specific type of fecal coliform. While most strains are harmless, their presence indicates the water has been contaminated by the waste of warm-blooded animals, like birds, dogs, or humans. And we all know when you go to the beach, you always see, especially at Santa Monica, you always see the birds kind of under the pier.
Yeah, we'll actually talk about it later. Piers make water even dirtier.
Oh.
But yeah, the second type of bacteria they test for is Enterococcus, and that's the gold standard for salt water. These bacteria are highly resilient and survive much longer in the salty ocean water than other types. So because they correlate strongly with human illness, they're the primary reason for most LA beach warnings.
Wow, that's really interesting. And the last one is total coliforms. And this is basically a broad group of bacteria found in the environment. So when you say environment, we mean soil and plants, as well as in waste. High levels suggest that runoff from the streets have reached the ocean. So basically, city bacteria is in the ocean now, which makes it unsafe.
So if all three of those so-called indicator bacteria levels are elevated, what does that actually mean? That means that we very likely have hidden pathogens in the water, which are the really highly dangerous bacteria.
Yes, and some of that could be, for the bacteria, some of it can include salmonella and shigella, which can cause severe gastroenterosis, which is basically the stomach flu. And as well as that, you can have viruses such as norovirus and hepatitis A, and these are often the cause of the 24-hour bug swimmers can feel after a day that they go swimming.
Yeah, and we also have protozoa, they're tiny parasites that can cause weeks of intestinal issues. So if you go in the water when those levels are elevated, you can get all sorts of unpleasant, mostly stomach-related conditions.
Yes.
So this is why LA County is testing for these indicator bacteria, is because they're actually warning you about bacteria that's much more serious.
Yes, because bacteria can always mutate and become something worse.
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll be back. We're going to take a break.
Hi, we're back.
So we're going to do some fast facts on bacteria within the water. So the first flush, the first flush is referred to as the most dangerous time to swim because it's right after the first big rain of the season. This quote-unquote first flush carries months of built-up pet waste, bird waste, and trash from LA's 5,000-mile storm drainage system directly into the water.
That makes so much sense. Didn't we have rain a few weeks ago?
Yes.
And now the water's contaminated? So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The next fact that we have for you is called the 72-hour rule. Bacteria levels typically spike for 3 days after it rains. So in the 3 days after it rains, officials do not recommend going to the beach. Health officials recommend staying out of the water for at least 72 hours to allow for natural UV light and salt to kill off the pathogens.
Wow, 72 hours, 3 days? Golly. And it's not just the waters. Studies from UCLA, our school,
UCLA.
Go Bruins, in 2006 have found that bacteria like E. coli can survive and even thrive on the top layer of wet sand, especially at enclosed beaches with little wave action like Mother's Beach. And I feel like that's really, really extremely interesting because, like, what do you mean it can survive on the top layer of the wet sand? And that's where people normally, like, build sandcastles and stuff, right? No?
Yeah, that's true. It's actually coming back to the sand versus water myth.
Yes.
Because bacteria levels can actually be higher in wet sand than in the water itself. And this is because sand protects bacteria from the sun's UV rays, which normally act as like a natural disinfectant in the open ocean, which like makes sense. A lot of the time when we want to disinfect something, we use UV light. And this is why health experts often recommend washing your hands after building sandcastles.
Wow, I'm surprised I haven't gotten any bacteria because when I was a kid, I never used to wash my hands after building sandcastles. I would just like go rinse it off in the water.
And the last one we have for you is the pier problem. Piers like Santa Monica's often have higher bacteria because they attract thousands of birds. This makes like perfect sense. I feel like there's always birds at Santa Monica.
The seagulls.
I know. They produce droppings, which are major sources of fecal coliform that triggers beach closures.
Wow. There's always birds at Santa Monica, so that makes sense. So we are going to talk about how bacteria levels affected by wildfires and climate change. So how do bacteria levels influence those things?
Yeah, or like vice versa. How do those things influence bacteria
Yes.
levels? Yeah, it's okay. The first thing we can talk about is climate change, obviously a very pressing issue in our world right now. The first thing, obviously, when the weather gets warmer, the oceans get warmer.
Yes.
So when oceans warm, some bacteria grow faster.
And it's like an incubator.
Yeah, it's true, yeah. Bacteria really like warm environments.
Yes.
So especially pathogenic species, they really like warm environments. And harmful bacteria like Vibrio vulnificus are expanding into new regions that they weren't previously in. Wow. So ocean heat waves, just like heat waves outside, shift microbial communities.
That's very interesting. So basically it means warmer weather equals faster metabolism, and it equals faster bacterial reproduction. So the more warmer it gets, the more bacteria we'll have.
Another thing that can happen with climate change is coral reef collapse. Yeah, did you know that coral reefs actually have a huge and very diverse microbial population?
Really?
Yeah, when corals die, the beneficial microbial communities disappear. This is why you see corals in like the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. They used to be really colorful, and now they're just like gray.
That's so sad.
Yeah, and this is because when ocean temperatures shift, the disease-causing microbes increase, and they kind of eat away at all the other ones.
Wow. So our next topic will be ocean stratification, which is basically layering. So warming causes strong layering of ocean water. So that means less mixing, less oxygen reaching deeper layers, and growth of low oxygen bacteria, which means there is an expansion of dead zones. And low oxygen bacteria can produce nitrous oxide, which is a powerful greenhouse gas, and hydrogen sulfide, which is toxic in high amounts. And you can also produce hydrogen sulfide with your cleaning products. So don't mix cleaning products. And climate change feeds the microbial shifts, which can feed climate change back. So basically it's like a negative feedback loop.
Yeah, so like it's really interesting. I had no idea that the low oxygen bacteria in the water can produce nitrous oxide, which is like a greenhouse gas that's then, I feel like it's going to end up in the atmosphere and like contribute even more to the greenhouse gas emissions that we're already producing from things like burning fossil fuels. And
So now we're going to talk about wildfires, because after wildfires, obviously we have a lot of ash, and rain washes the ash into rivers, and rivers carry nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and iron into the ocean, and also they have animals into the ocean, which can like absorb that ash and the bacteria from the ash, which can lead to more bacteria in the ocean. And the result of this is massive microbial blooms and increased bacterial respiration and oxygen depletion in coastal waters. So more nutrients means more bacteria and more oxygen consumption.
Yeah, basically all these like particles that are not supposed to be there are just
Yeah.
ending up in the water.
Yeah.
And this is very similar to smoke deposits. Basically, smoke deposits iron into the ocean, something that I guess should not be there. Wildfire smoke contains iron particles, and when smoke settles on ocean surfaces, it fertilizes certain microbes, especially phytoplankton and cyanobacteria. And this can trigger temporary blooms of that bacteria that can further contaminate the water and make it really unsafe for the species living in the water and us humans that occasionally enjoy it. So some scientists think that wildfire ash may temporarily boost carbon fixation, but it can also destabilize ecosystems because they're just not used to this amount of iron being in the water.
Wow. So to wrap it up, we're going to be talking about organic carbon from burned forests. So wildfires release large amounts of dissolved organic carbon. So this means more bacteria rapidly consumes this carbon, increase respirations, and release CO2 back into the atmosphere. And we all know that high levels of CO2 can be very, very bad.
So they kind of feed each other.
Yeah.
Like wildfires, because obviously they're going to put more smoke in the air, they're also going to put all these harmful particles in the water.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really just going to exacerbate each other and make the ecosystems around us much worse. Which makes sense because after the Palisades wildfires, I mean, I wasn't here, but I heard that a lot of the beaches were closed,
Yes.
and even just the areas were not safe to be in.
Yes. And speaking of CO2, carbon monoxide, CO, is very, very dangerous. So I'm assuming that would be even more dangerous because it's 2 oxygens instead of 1.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah, that's kind of all we have on the wildfires section. We will be back after the break.
Yes. Hi guys, we're going to do our exit. So
thank you so much for listening. We want to end this by saying we are not medical or environmental professionals.
We are doing this for our club. So do your own information. And if you feel like you need any medical attention, talk to a physician because we're just undergraduate students.
Yeah, we hope you learn something about the different bacteria in the water.
Yes.
And for more information, you can look at LA County's website when you're planning your next beach trip.
Yes, and remember to stay away from those dirty beaches.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.